Hey guys, Rome Grown here. Just a quick update on my spicy basil, one of my favorite varieties. Grows in the shape of an afro. But yeah, man, it has a mild flavor and it's really been boosting this year. One of my favorite base basils. Moving on, we got the red Reuben, which has been growing pretty slow, but I mean, the plant had a very slow start, was getting attacked a little bit by a couple of insects, as you can see here, but great flavor, really robust. And moving on, we have the super sweet basil. As you can see, the insects have been loving it. I've been finding all kinds of beetles all over it. It's what you use for pestos, throw it in your pizza, you know, your pizzas and pastas and whatnot. Here we go. We have our thyme, and this is just an amazing variety. This is the regular summer variety. Very productive, has a very barbecue-like flavor, great for beef, chicken, and it's one of the heaviest yielding thymes that I've had this year. The lemon variety, which is the first time I've actually grown the lemon variety, to tell you the truth, it was a little bit slow to pick up, but this has the most wonderful fragrance. It's my absolute favorite of the thymes that I'm growing right now, even though I have multiple varieties. Here we have what's called the Silver King variety. It's more of an ornamental variety, if I will. You know, you can see the white edges on the leaflets there, and it's just very nice looking, very productive, but it's not a heavy yielder in the sense that it yields a lot. Orange thyme. Now this is a very interesting variety, very sprawly, very, you know, lanky. Wasn't a very fast grower, but it has the most unique orange peel smell, so I had to get it in the garden for a little bit of a change up. Now the rosemary here hasn't been doing as well, because rosemary, at least where I am, needs a lot more light and it takes a while for it to go. I'm just trying to zoom in here. This variety is actually called barbecue rosemary. It was the first time I saw it at the nursery, so I definitely wanted to pick it up to try it out. I love rosemary just as much as I love thyme, you know, and I just wanted to try this one out. It does have more of a smoky flavor than your regular rosemary variety that I would normally cook with. Moving on, we have the hot and spicy oregano. Now this has a little bit, it's in the name, hot and spicy. As you can see here, it's very productive. It's a creeping plant, so it will take over this whole planter, as you'll see soon. Hot and spicy oregano, as you can see there, looks a little bit nitrogen deficient, but this is right before a feed and a chop, so I wanted to kind of let all the nutrients leach out before I get my chop. I'm going to chop everything down and feed it, but as you can see, it's super nice variety. And here we have the I think I'm moving on to the well, this is the other section. Well, anyways, we'll get back to the oregano here. Now this mint plant, man, you're going to see in the next video that I upload that this thing is so vigorous that it will take over any planter. I highly suggest using its own pot. We'll talk about it in a later video. Here is the sweet Thai. It's my favorite thing to throw into soups, into any kind of pho, you know what I mean? And yeah, here we have the Greek oregano. So that's the cousin of the hot and spicy here. It's a very pleasant oregano that you'd use for pastas and, you know, tomato sauces, stuff like that, pizza. Now here's the regular rosemary variety, which I love and has gotten way bigger since this video, and you will see in the next update. Here's my sage plant, which has been growing very slowly but very steadily. It's hasn't been attacked by bugs, and it lets off the most amazing fragrance. Sometimes I just burn the leaves to make the house smell nice. Now here's the Malabar spinach that I got from my neighbor Raja and his wife Fatima. Excellent variety. This was gifted to me earlier in the season, and as you'll notice in the next video, these things have crept right up the poles. So anyways, we're going to move on to the fruit plants here. I have a Millions variety, Million cherry tomato variety, a very heavy producer. This is actually the fastest growing plant, but since then all of these other plants has caught up to them. This is actually a clone of one of them, and that's how fast it's already grown. I'm taking branches off of this plant and just putting them in the dirt, and they're growing. Now this is a finger dipping variety. This is actually the most sweet variety of tomatoes that's in the garden. We ended up finding out through our tests, so we're going to regrow that next year. This is the blue kale, curled kale variety. We got some currants there, and this creeping plant that we thought was strawberries, but it wasn't. Yep, there's our palm bush, and it's doing really well. It's bounced back. It was getting attacked by a lot of ants, and it was kind of upsetting, man. But yeah, here we're just taking a closer look at the lemon thyme variety. Now this stuff is really good to use in soups. It's really good to use in teas. If you like to make lemon chicken and cook lemon varieties, it's really good to use. Yeah, man, this, the garden has just been such a rewarding experience this year so far, other than obviously the inevitable fight with the chipmunks and squirrels. But the thyme varieties, have really been boosting, and I'm loving the complete different smells that are coming off the thymes. Some of them are a little bit more ornamental and less strong in flavor, but some of them are really robust. Yeah, man. And these cherry tomatoes are super productive, very productive variety. They're a little bit more bitter than the finger dipping varieties right next to them, but they do produce a lot more, so you kind of have to have both if you want a steady stream. I always say the more plants, the more fruits, and that's just how it goes, man. Now this is the 1000 variety, but it actually grows a bit bigger tomatoes. I wouldn't exactly say they're cherry size, but they're slightly bigger, but it's nice to add a little bit of variety. And we were just taking a look at the fennel plant, which I'll show you a little bit later. Now here's my favorite plant to grow. It's the spicy bell pepper plant. It's just like it says, it's a mix between a pepper plant and a bell pepper. Very productive. I can almost eat one of these every single day. And within 2 plants, you'll have more peppers than you know what to do with. So it's a very good variety for you guys to actually try out. And it's very productive, produces a lot of seeds. All right, we're going to take a quick look at the cucumber plant that we have growing. I decided to move it up against the fence because it needed a little bit more support, and it was a great decision. So far, we've had so many great cucumbers off of it, and I will update you guys on how well they're doing soon. Now, real quick, I wanted to show you guys what some of these plants look like after a chop. And unfortunately we had some rain and the plants actually really dampened off, so I'm gonna have to let them not water them, not do anything. And you can see some rotting happening on the ends of the stems, and just because we've had very wet conditions in Canada for the last little bit. As you can see here, everything's looking a bit droopy and moist. This is right after a rain. It was a big thunderstorm, so I wanted to get a lot of the material off the plants that I could before they were damaged. Heavy winds as of late, and it's been really strange, to tell you the truth. But I'm still glad to have a garden, man, as long as it's still kicking. So as you can see here, there's a lot more space to actually see what I'm planting here. I try to keep the stickers for everything because I have so many varieties now. It does get a bit confusing sometimes. So as you can see here, the thyme's just ready and ripe for chopping, which is pretty much what I'm going to do today. And you can see some of the buds. If you don't chop it, it will start to flower on you, man. The summer variety, and it's very productive. As you can see here, the lemon variety actually needs a good feeding. I chopped it a week ago, so it's still bouncing back, pardon me. But we're getting towards later into the summer, and I'm just wondering if I should flower these out. But I just love how they produce, so I'm always hesitant. Here we have the Silver King, and as I said before, it has a very mild flavor, but it does produce, well, it looks like it produces a lot, but the leaves themselves aren't very, they don't weigh very much. There's not much to them, so it's good that it produces a lot, because you would need more if you were to use this strictly for cooking. But great ornamental and something cool to have in the garden. Right below the lemon thyme is the orange thyme, and this stuff has been bouncing back, surprisingly. I mean, everything else seems to be droopy, but this thing kind of, who knows, it might need a little bit more moisture, who knows. It's my first year with this variety, and I had to get it because I've never heard of orange thyme before. I do use it in my teas and spices in conjuncture with the lemon. As you can see here, the oregano has gotten a little bit of life back into it because of the rain, and I did feed it not long ago, hot and spicy. I almost lost the tag there, man. I don't know what happened. It's like some half of it's snapped off or something. I don't know. Maybe the chipmunks got to it. Who knows? But anyways, yeah, man. It's just amazing variety. It will take over your garden, so make sure you watch where you plant it. Now, the rosemary that I put in the pot has been doing a lot better. I haven't touched it and cut it once. I want to let that bush grow as far as possible. The Greek oregano is doing good. I have you know, I've just gotten so much. I think the oregano has actually been the biggest producer in the garden so far. Now the sweet Thai basil, I wish I planted 2 of these or maybe 3, because it is a decent to medium producer, but I need more of it because I like my soup, man. But anyways, the mint got chopped and you have to keep that under control. The sage is doing well. You know, sometimes you gotta let Mother Nature do its thing, man. I mean, I water all the time, but it just seems like after a nice heavy rainfall, everything loves it. The Malabar spinach is starting to branch off at the bottom and creep up poles. Now I had to stake them up because they're getting really reachy, man. The minute you start plucking off some of those heavy leaves, they just want to take off, and all of this explosive growth happened within a month. And as you can see, it really has just, you know, climbed up, and I actually had to cut it off, and that's the fastest Malabar spinach. The other one, it's like a race, right? 2 of them are in big pots. One of them is in a medium pot, and I have one in a very small pot. And you can see here, it's just as soon as it has something to latch onto, man, it just grabs and goes. These are some clones that I took from the million variety cherry tomato plant. As you can see here, these things have really boosted in the time since the last video. I think this was like maybe a week after that first little bit of sunny footage that I showed there at the beginning of the video. You know, my wife loves the cherry tomato variety. Yep, garden's a mess there, and that's simply because the squirrels like to dig up my palm tree, man, and they leave a nice little mess for me to have to rinse off day after day. So, you know, this is actually the kale that was I sprouted in the planters, and I moved them there because they like shade, so the palm tree was a good option. The fennel plant, man, I gotta say, the wasps and the bees and the pollinators love this fennel, and you know, I'm gonna have a lot of fennel off this one little small plant that we had. But if you guys want pollinators, I highly recommend fennel, especially for just consistency. You know, they'll always be bringing in pollinators. Now, it was more wasps than honeybees, but you know, as you can see here, super producer. Now you can leave those on the plant, you can let them ripen. I personally like for them to just start to change color, and the minute they start to change color, I cut them down and I put them in a bowl, because it really only takes a day or 2 for them to ripen. And once they're ripe, man, are they tasty. The currant bush is doing good, slow growing. I have it in a pot, and it hasn't produced anything this year because it needs a lot more time. Now, as you can see here, hey man, hey, the cucumbers though, you know what I mean? It was the right decision, and them leaves are big. This thing is literally gonna grow over the fence. I'm gonna have to stake it up to the fence and let it grow. Man, I just wasn't expecting it to grow so well, but the honeybees love you know, the pollinators love this the stuff, right? Anyways, we have the kale here, and you know, you got to get to it before the rabbits come, because they like nibbling on this stuff. But super healthy, so it's like a superfood. So we're just taking a look at the Scotch bonnets that I have growing. I actually got them because my uncle loves spicy food, and Scotch bonnet is a very popular Jamaican variety. Now, as you can see here, it's really producing a lot. It doesn't grow vertical, it likes to grow into a bush. As you can see here, the thousands variety, which are a little bit bigger than the millions variety, starting to ripen up, man. And this thing has been producing. Those are some great fruits. Probably a really good option to throw into pastas, because you know, they will add a little bit of texture, and they'll add a little bit of appeal to the dish when you see a nice half-sized tomato in there, and it's not overwhelming to get a big glob of tomato. Now, these finger dipper varieties are the sweetest of the varieties. I'm going to plant 2 or 3 of these ones next year because my wife loves them. Very nice to pick off the tree and just eat. Okay, and real quick, I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like to when I chop my stuff, and kind of have the bush and the shape that I try to keep. I don't take too much off, but I do want to keep it down level. I want light to be able to penetrate as far down as possible while still maintaining some green, so that, you know, the sun can do its thing. And, you know, if you take too much off, I find it takes a long time for these things to bounce back, especially thyme and herb varieties, and especially if you're in a limited size planter, it can cause problems, especially if you take too much material off the plant. So I do like to, you know, it's slightly ornamental. And as you can see here, I have a lot of the the material that came off the thyme and the oregano. So if you guys like what you see here, you can have this too, man. It's just one of those things where you don't need a lot of effort to have, you know, fresh herbs and have nutritious supplements to your meals. Now I combined the lemon and the orange, and in the yellow container I did the Silver King and the summertime varieties. Hope you guys enjoyed, man. Anyways, that's my garden, and hope you guys are keeping up with yours, man. It's a lot of work. So anyways, till next video, see you guys soon, man. Thanks for watching.